Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from my channel Highbrook Model Railway. Today I'm going to be starting my very first weathering. Well, can we call it weathering? I guess we could call it making something look more realistic, but you know what, I've never done anything like this before, so for me I'm going to call this a weathering project, at least today, because this is part one of two videos where we are going to be improving this little Hornby Great Western 040, specifically the 101. So, what do I want to do? Well, previously this wagon had these copper pickups mounted in the bottom of it. You can see where some of the glue residue is. Because the Hornby 040s, not necessarily, excuse me as I reach for an 040, not necessarily the more modern saddle tanks with, if I can get the body off, he says it as the body's not wanting to come off, which it usually does. Oh, there we go. Not with the more modern can type motoring. These are generally fine with pickups. Satisfying click, but with the older Holden tanks, the 101s and such like this, the side tanks, generally the pickups are very spindly and don't make very good connection. Now, you can't get to these. You can clean them by sort of firing stuff down there and hoping it gets clean, but you can't sort of take them out as you are able to do on some Hornby models like Flying Scotsman. You can unscrew the pickups, take a base keeper plate off and clean them. These are inbuilt into the plastic chassis, and to get them out you would literally have to saw the chassis in half, so you can see why I didn't want to do that. So previously there was these random collection of badly soldered wires. This was done several years ago, but I basically bodged, and it was a reasonable bodged, these copper pickups into here, which touched the axles of the wheels, because the wheels sort of press fit onto the plastic axles, as you can see, to make this actually have 4 pickups per rail, so 8 pickups in total, and it did work very well. Going over points, it didn't stutter anymore, it didn't cut out, and it was actually a reasonably good bodge. But now that I am older and wiser, dare I say, I want to actually upgrade this. So I've already taken the liberty of taking all the old pickups out, cutting all the wires loose, and just leaving these two in here. The reason why I haven't, or why I'm not going to replace these, is because soldering them to the motor contacts, especially where the plastic brush area was a little bit risky. It did start to melt ever so slightly, so I'm going to preserve these wires, join the 2-pin plug which I'm going to buy to connect this half, well, this pickup tender, coal wagon and the locomotive, and I've got some heat shrink to make sure these are not going to short on the metal motor casing, and it'll just make them a bit stronger. And as I mentioned just then, I am going to add a 2-pin plug because these wires were just permanently soldered together between the wagon and the loco, but I want to be able to service this, unplug the tender, chuck it to one side, open up the loco and get working. But until the 2-pin plug arrives, I've ordered, we're not going to be working on the loco today, so put that over there. What I actually want to do is add a realistic coal load to this wagon, because not only is this going to be a pickup wagon, it's actually going to be a semi-realistic representation of how these 101s and actually these 040s, the saddle tank 040s, these also had, same as the 101s, a coal wagon. Now this could have been like a 3 or a 5 plank wagon that stored coal, but as you've noticed, the tank, the coal bunker, sorry, on the back of here is very small, and especially on the saddle tanks, the coal bunker is actually just there and there, so very small coal capacity. So in industrial environments and shunting and such, it was very common practice for small 040s, small industrial 040s like that, to tow a wagon behind them filled with coal, so they didn't obviously have to, navigate back to a coaling tower and fill up with coal again. So that's exactly what I'm going to model. That's my excuse for having a pickup wagon. I can say it's a coal wagon for this. So it can have an increased range. I'm not doing that for all my 040s, just specifically this one because the pickups aren't so great on it. So I've mixed up some 50-50 mix of glue and water. We've got a paintbrush for applying some very fine coal powder, which I shall tip a bit out into this lid and hope it doesn't go all over me. There we go. So that is there, and then here is my coal. It does look quite grey. I was quite surprised when I got it. It's obviously coal, you can see all the dust that's coming off, but it's quite grey, but this glue does actually dry ever so slightly satin, so it should give it a nice shine, and also it will probably go a little bit darker, as my ballast does as well. In terms of gluing the coal to the wagon, I'm just going to take the same approach I've done with ballasting. I have some, where's it gone? soapy water, or rather washing up liquid and water mix in here to break the surface tension so the water and glue mix can run down through the coal. So let's crack on. As I say, I've already disconnected, got rid of all the old pickups, tried to smoothen that glue residue out as best as I can, and we are going to now weather, in loose terms, especially when it's me talking, this wagon and put a realistic coal load into it. So for this, I think I ought to zoom in. Yep, that'll do. So, paintbrush. I want to first use the coal powder to sort of create the impression that coal has spilled over the sides of the wagon over the years, and also I want to just create a base layer of coal powder around here as well, so that if there is any gaps, because I'm not going to load it jam full of this, because if I create a massive pile on this tiny wagon it'll look stupid, but I just want to put a fine dusting of coal dust as sort of a base layer, so to speak. So you can see the muck in there, the glue. I have actually done a quick test of this on another bit of scrap plastic and it did work quite well. So 50-50 glue and water mix, I'm just going to sort of dab on the sides of the wagon. I'm not really going to do it in any specific order. I'm just going to sort of daub some on and then I'll paint or poke or daub is quite an appropriate word for today, some powder on top of it as well. So let's get this spread out a little bit, and it does dry clear, so if if I decide, oh, I don't actually want to put powder on there, I can just leave it and it does dry clear. So let's just, not too much, just dab some glue mixture. And if it runs down slightly, it doesn't matter, as long as it doesn't end up on the wheel. So we'll dab some glue mixture on there. We'll sort the sides out with powder first, and then once that's all done, I can leave the wagon upright and then sort the actual coal load. So, paintbrush, which is useless for painting because you see all the fibres have spread out, but perfect, I find, for collecting bits of, well, coal dust and dabbing them onto the sides of the wagon. In fact, I am just going to twist those fibres loosely back together in a towel because they were a bit far apart. So, scoop up some powder, dab it on like that. That's actually working really well. Yeah, the test bit I did on the piece of plastic was okay, but this, dare I say, it looks to be going relatively well. And over time, as I pick this wagon up, the coal may drop off, the glue may fail, but it's going to be like a 5-minute job this to get the coal on. The coal load will stay in, of course, but every now and then I might need to re-dirty the sides of the wagon with coal, and that's not really a problem. So yeah, this is going quite well. I don't want to overdo it. I still want you to be able to sort of see what it is. I want it to be obvious that it's a one-plank wagon, but I just don't want to just dump a coal load on the top and then leave it. I'm not weathering the underframe or anything like that because it's black anyway, so, give that a shake just to get any loose bits off. And dare I say it, dare I blow my own trumpet, but I'd say that doesn't look too bad. Yeah, pretty pleased with that. Right, so he says, grabbing a towel for his hands. We shall slightly zoom out again. We're not going to need as much detail now. There we go. And we can think about... Oh, yes, sorry. I forgot, haven't I? The base layer of coal dust. So I'm just going to paint this around the edges. I don't really want to get it on top because it will just sort of run down the side. So I'll try and get it just loosely around the side. Because as I dab it on anyway, it'll... stick to the glue that's already there. So I just want to paint some glue around the sides, a little bit on the bottom, because then of course I'm going to dribble it through with a pipette once the main bulky coal in that dish is in place. So let's just give this a little bit of a wipe around with some glue, not too shabby looking, and let's get some more of this coal powder and an increasingly dirty workbench, and let's just dab some of this coal powder on top. I've just dipped it in the glue. I knew that were going to happen at some point. That's the reason I have 2 paintbrushes. Well, that should be dry enough. And as I was saying, before I dipped the wrong brush into the glue, we'll just stick some... No, I've just nearly done it again. We'll get some coal powder on top and around the edges of the wagon, like so. And now I'm just going to basically just shake some on, because I don't want to dip this in the glue, so I'm just going to sort of give the edges of the wagon just a little dusting of coal around the edges. Yeah, a bit can fall off like that, that's fine. Don't want it to look stupid random, but I don't want it to look like somebody's just placed a perfect square of coal on there either. So let's just give that a dusting. I suppose I could tip it on, but then I'd probably slip and put far too much on, so we just want a base layer, so it's going to be, you know, if there's any gaps in the coal load, the chunky coal load, it's not going to look too terrible. But this is actually, I know the real model weatherers now are cringing, but this actually seems to be going half decently. Not going to go mad, but I just want a nice coating of coal dust. A bit more in that corner. There. See, so if that was an empty coal wagon, I would probably stop there, but of course the whole point is this is supposed to extend the range of the loco, so if for an empty coal wagon, that actually does look quite decent. I am pretty proud of this already, dare I say it. But now I am going to get the real coal, and in tests, I've just sort of got this all to the edge of the dish and sort of just gently tapped it on into a heap. But I don't want a massive heap. I don't want the wagon to be, you know, this tall and the coal load to be that tall, because that looks stupid and out of proportion with the loco. The whole reason why I picked this little one plank wagon is because it's nicely in proportion with the loco, and then it's obvious to see what it is. You know, you don't have to sort of look down to see, oh, it's filled with coal. So that's my logic behind using a one plank wagon. Can you see this? Yes, you can. So I'm basically just going to tap the coal off this little dish, which is actually my magnetic parts tray, to be honest with you, but it's good for holding substances like this. I'm just going to tap some coal into the middle of the wagon. I may actually use my finger to try and get a bit more of a pile in the middle. A bit more on this corner, I think. A bit more on that corner. Tappity tap tap, a bit like sieving when you're baking. And let me just bring that up to my eye level just to check. Yeah, that looks fine to me. So that looks fine. It's not too much of a pile, it's not too much of a sort of lackluster coal wagon, I guess you could say. If I just bring that up to my eye level, yeah, I'm happy with that. That looks fine. In fact, you know what? Just with my fingers, I'm just going to make that peak ever so slightly taller. Because once this is glued, it's not going to come off easy, which is good, really. Right, there we go. So that is the chunky coal on, and you can still see some of the powder through it, which is nice. So now comes a very gentle spray of washing up liquid and water to break the surface tension of the coal, so the glue and water can run down, intermingle with all the particles of coal, all the bits of coal, and then glue it securely to the wagon. So I don't want to blast it with this. I'm going to be careful because I don't want to just shoot all the coal off to one side. So I am going to... Is this even turned on? Yes, it is. In fact, I'm actually just going to prime it, get all the air out by squirting it into the glue mixture, because that's not going to hurt anything. And then I'm going to bring the wagon up like this and give it a very careful spray. Come on, spray. In fact, I am running out, so I'm going to have to do it across the top like this, but that's fine. Oh, there we go. It's primed now. We've got all the air out. So I don't want to soak this, really. I don't want there to be a puddle, but there needs to be enough to cover all of it, which there seems to be. Very much like when you're ballasting is this, I'd imagine. We'll soon see if it isn't. There. That should be enough. I don't want to go mad, because then I'll just have a big pool of water. Right, let me just tip that up to try and get some in there. Yeah, that's fine. Any excess will just evaporate off in a day or so anyway. Right, so pipette to dribble the glue and water mixture into the gaps on the wagon. So I don't want to put too much on. Is this actually going to run down in between? Yeah, look at that. Yeah, look. Watch this drop. You can see I drop it and then it spreads all through the coal. That's really good. So we have broke the surface tension of the coal. And this glue is now going to nicely intermingle. So the glue is now nicely going to intermingle with the coal. I'm probably just going to use this pipette full and then leave it because I don't want big blobs of glue running down the side. That has there, but that can be fixed. Right, I'm going to stop there, and if necessary, when this has dried, I can then, of course, if I need to add any more glue, I can do that. Right, what I'm now just going to do is where the glue has just slightly gone over the sides, I have slightly put too much on. And again, I'm just going to put some more coal dust on the gluey bits where it's sort of run over. Excuse me, I'm going to have to stand up and look round the other side because I don't want to touch this wagon now, because if I touch the wagon, then of course all the glue is going to just slop over the side and make it look terrible. So I'm just going to check from the other side that glue's covered with coal powder, which it is. So now, apart from tidy up the horrific watery mess I've made, there is not really much more I can do. So this is going to be the end of part 1 of the Hornby Great Western 101, or the Holden tank engines. Oh, that's gone everywhere. Or the Holden tank engines, I believe they're called. I will now go tidy up, and I will see you in a couple of days when this glue is set. We can assess how the coal load on this wagon looks, and also we will be able to see about fitting that 2-pin plug and improving the electrical connection and the pickups on this wagon between the wagon and the locomotive. You may say, well, why didn't you do the wiring first and then do all the glue? Well, for the exact reason, some glue's just dribbled down the side, and if it goes on the contacts or the pickups or into the plug especially, then that's game over and it's another £3 for a new 2-pin plug. So I'm going to leave you there. Thank you very much indeed for watching. In a couple of days time there will be a new video out covering the fitting of the 2-pin plug, and of course I'm sure you'll all be excited to see exactly how the progress, exactly how this wagon is finished up. Thank you very much for watching indeed everyone, and I do hope to see you again soon. Take care and bye for now.